Hey, it's Shabes, and welcome to another edition of Anitube Digest, where we go over the best and not so best anime YouTube videos that came out this week. In this case, from September 15th to September 19th, because I have to leave early for something, and yeah. But it's been kind of slim pickings again this week. I only have one video that was not good. And this is not in the same caliber of bad as these other videos have been. It's just been kind of harder and harder to really willingly watch some of this stuff. Like, I only want to target creators that I think are much bigger and have been around for a while and make content consistently to really warrant talking in this caliber. I'm not gonna like pick on a sub 1,000 or sub 10,000 person and put them in not good. I think that's kind of shitty. I'm going to put a Gigguk's Stop Sleeping on Vinland Saga video here. I didn't get that much value out of it, to be honest. It wasn't awful. It didn't say too much of value that I don't think has either already been said, or as he said himself in his the way he sold the series in his manga video years ago, which he references in this video. I think he did a much better job convincing people to read it back then than he has convincing people to watch it here. Because the most he can say about the actual adaptation is that it's done a decent job. It's done a good enough job. It's not Kingdom, it's not Berserk, and he makes a really cool analogy of like the four pillars of these manga that are more serious, kind of historical, but otherwise kind of gritty, more adult, long-running series that have had trouble in the past with adaptations. Berserk, Vagabond, Vinland Saga, and Kingdom. Kingdom having that one CG show, and Berserk having multiple adaptations that he argues no one has been satisfied with, and that's not true, but, he just kind of makes the argument that, hey, Vinland Saga, it's not horrible. He just kind of makes a lot of general points about the bad guy and what the premise is, but he doesn't go too into spoilers. He doesn't make a lot of specific points. I feel like a lot of the things that he brings up here could be said about anything, about any show that comes out in the previous couple of seasons. It's all very boilerplate. I found Oceanus's video on Vinland Saga a couple of weeks ago to be much more enticing as a sell to the series of like what this actually does uniquely. But he's just like, yeah, it's really a good show, and it's like, yeah, and you're saying the title is Stop Sleeping on Vinland Saga, and that's implying that a lot of people are talking about it online in the same caliber as Dr. Stone or Demon Slayer or any of these other shows that are coming out this season. And I think that's true. Surprisingly true. And I think that's a very interesting topic that you don't touch upon at all. All you do is kind of make like a, hey guys, this early part's really good. It's a good show. And I feel like that could have been saved for later when there's more to the show and you have more to expound upon. But you could have really tackled this argument of people sleeping on Vinland Saga and maybe exploring why people are doing that. What's considered good enough for an adaptation for people. Just because it's not going panel for panel, and like there's some people I know that are looking at the manga directly, comparing it, and like it's incomparable. The manga is still really superior, despite the lavish background art and I would assume decent score and sound design and voice acting, which nobody seems to talk about, and you didn't talk about that much. So I mean, in terms of what it adds as an adaptation, like Stop Sleeping on the Vinland Saga anime, but you don't make that argument. You just, about the series in general. And plenty of people who've been watching it are liking it well enough, but they're certainly not talking about it in the same caliber for sure. I wonder why that is, and he didn't necessarily tackle that. The one point I did like was towards the end, you get a lot more abstract and kind of sentimental about coming across a show every so often that's like, yeah, that's awesome. Like, that's a classic. Like, that was something special. And you bring up a couple of examples, particularly LOGH. Thank you. Make a video on it at some point, please. It was a little too late for me, personally. Also, just that, like, this show is far from being done. I think it's a 2-core, but then it's not like that 2-core is going to adapt the whole series, you know? So it's just really early for a video like this. And maybe you're disappointed that it's not getting the same attention that Attack on Titan got at one point. Maybe there's something to that. Maybe that's something worth exploring. But nothing is really that interesting or explored in this video, in my opinion. I'm happy you made it. I agree with that. That Villain Saga seems to be a show that people aren't talking about as much. But this seemed kind of phoned in to me, personally. Alright, now for the videos I thought were decent. Just okay. You might want to check them out. I thought that'd be kind of something interesting here and there. First, OtakuDaiKun with Lessons in Magecraft, the Swirl of the Root. And he gets very toony in this video. The narration is very in character. I wouldn't say it's in character to like his work in general. It's a very particular in character teaching about magic as if it was a legit thing, and the philosophies behind it and why mages study it the way they do, and like kind of giving a realistic grounding idea of it. But then like it's all fake characters. It seems there was no mention of an anime or anything like that. It was just kind of illusioned as like reality, like, oh, this character, this person, this historical person, and trying to make it real, and it's like, but it is real. And you know, I'm not trying to call bullshit or anything like that. I think it was very cute and very endearing. And he's offering this as a series on his Patreon that's exclusive to patrons. And that was something I was just like, for this? Really? Weird. But hey, I mean, people are into it, sure. I just think it was kind of different for an anime YouTube video, because not a lot of people try to create like a whole identity thing. Like, you know, Jeff doing his PSA is one thing, but it's so clearly his voice and it's just him putting on an accent or something. But this really felt like immersive and like really tuney and kind of into it. And I liked that. It was fun. So, you know, I thought it was something different than what you see in anime YouTube every day. So check it out. Up next, something else pretty unique. Sage's Reign with To Love You. This is kind of similar short form stuff that he does every so often. Sometimes he does long form like discussion analysis things. But sometimes he puts this stuff out, which is kind of like poetry, or just like very small like motivational things, and just kind of capturing a feeling or an idea through his writing, and not like nothing like necessarily persuasive or like structural. It just kind of felt like, you know, spoken word, set to anime clips and other media too, which I feel like could have been a lot more evocative. I feel like the choices were a tad bit arbitrary. Like I didn't really like get like a emotional response out of the visuals the way I might have with the words and with the music backing and all that. I just feel that the video component wasn't as strong as it could have been. But I think, again, this is something really different, and like no one's making this that I know of, and it's just really cool. Very short too, so go ahead and check it out if you like that sort of stuff. He's got a couple other ones too, and his voice is it's a good voice. It's like very like deep and sultry kind of deal. I like it. Good job. Mathwiz, hello. Broly, Frieza, and my evolution with Dragon Ball. I really liked this perspective as a shonen anime YouTuber who's been going through Fairy Tail. God bless your soul. She claims to have, you know, changed her taste since then, but her taste in making anime YouTube videos has stayed the same. as observation I noticed. I'm like, man, just make a comic scroll video already. What are you doing? This was kind of a cynical look at Dragon Ball, and it's like, yeah, this was important to my childhood at this point. I don't really care for consuming more Dragon Ball, but I don't know if it should stay dead and like be a dead series and stop, or something that keeps going the way it's been going and giving me stuff like Super Dragon Ball Super Broly, which she felt was a fantastic film. But she makes a lot of comparisons to like her problems with Resurrection F. And it's like, we could keep getting stuff like this, which is very trite, and she explains all that. Goes very much structurally and very in that shonen mindset that she has, which is very helpful and articulate and full of knowledge. You can really tell that she really cares about this genre, and everyone that's kind of improved on it afterwards. And she's not just taking all of it for granted or assumes that she knows it. She really has like, yeah, this is what we see here. So in this case with Resurrection F, it's not all that satisfying because XYZ. My slight issue was when she started talking about Broly, and she starts with saying how great the visuals are and how a good time it was. And it just felt kind of weird when you were not talking about the visuals for Resurrection F at all. It was only plot structure things that you had problems with. And I assume you just have nothing to say about the visuals because, yeah, they are pretty mediocre in comparison. And I fully agree with you, but I feel like if your leading argument for why Broly is the kind of content you want, it was weird to start out with visuals. And the visuals comparison seemed to have kind of a overlay over the whole argument, where it's like, I think you couldn't help but how good it looks and how much you prefer this style to the other styles. And there's nothing wrong with that, definitely. But it just felt weird structurally with that argument. It's like you were not talking about visuals the entire time until you started talking about Broly. And then it's like, now we're talking about visuals? Okay. But she does, of course, talk about the subject matter with Broly. But yeah, a lot of the points with just kind of being cynical, but not a bad kind of cynical. Certainly not like a dismissing what Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z did. But she's just like, they have their place. I've made up my mind I'm not watching Super, which I will also say kind of weakened your position for me. Whereas it's like, it's hard for... I'm not a Dragon Ball fan. I haven't watched any of it. But I would imagine because I'm a Pokemon fan. And I kind of have a problem with people talking about Pokemon when they are not watching it. And they try to speak for it on behalf of it, thinking they get it. When it's like... you're not there, dude. You know what I mean? So that I think weakened your argument. The fact that you were very adamant about not watching Super. I'm not saying you needed to make this a convincing argument, because you ended up talking about what you did know, which was very good. You didn't mention Super whatsoever. But it's something to consider, I would imagine. I'm sure you're getting that in the comments to a degree. That's just my opinion, I guess, as a low-key completionist and someone from that perspective. But I really liked that it was your perspective and you weren't trying to be some sort of authority on it, and it very much felt like from your perspective that then other people can relate to, like, oh yeah, I grew up with Dragon Ball 2 and I have the same feelings about Resurrection F and Broly and my struggle with like wanting it to die but then not wanting it to die, and what do I really want out of the series. I think it was very relatable and pretty solid job. There's just some things here and there that were a little rocky for me. Is like, yeah. TJ Veranga. I'm sorry. The art of anime openings. He's literally doing the Nakey Jakey thing. It starts with him on a yoga ball in front of a green screen, right in the middle of the frame, and he just bumps it and he's pointing like this, and it's literally Nakey Jakey. And I complimented Lost Pause a couple weeks ago for doing this similar thing, and I think also Meta Hulk as well. But this was straight up, and I couldn't detach myself from that. Like, it's literally, he's just trying to make a Nakey Jakey thing. I'm pretty sure like this is the kind of title that he would make too. And it's like, are you just making a Nakey Jakey video? Okay. And a lot of the arguments were similar. Starting to talk about the song and makes this kind of awkward analogy about like showing the visuals. And it's like, you're not emotionally moved by that, right? And I'm like, I guess not. I think it's kind of cool. Like, he showed some Fire Force OP and stuff, and then he added the song. And it's like, isn't that more hype? And I was like, I'm not a fan of that song personally. I feel like it's very largely subjective, and that's the kind of the trouble you run into some of this sometimes. But it was pretty sharp and had a lot of decent examples, and it never wasn't anything that really felt ungenuine. I feel like it's very easy to run a very surface idea like this, just talking about anime openings in a general sense, and kind of come off as a normie. Like some of these bigger guys where it's like, dude, you've only seen like 100 shows. I can tell. Like, how much have you really seen? Okay. Have you seen any Studio Ghibli films? I'm not saying you're that. Definitely not. That's why I think it was a decent video, because that's a trap you could have fallen into. Where like, oh geez, this guy doesn't. But you had pretty good cuts. You mentioned the Anohana OP, and then it's like you can tell a story, the premise, the gist of the show from this one shot, and I'm like, yeah, I totally agree. And your reflection on like the Your Name OP, and you're like getting that remembering that feeling of watching the show over again, like just from the OP. I get that all the time with OPs that I listen to over and over. Absolutely relatable. So it's pretty good. I personally couldn't pull my attention away from the fact that you're blatantly taking inspiration from that. But if it ain't broke, right? If it's good format, why not? I mean, I'm taking this from Anthony Fantano, so I can't knock you there, really. Just something I noticed personally, but I thought it was a fun video, so something to check out. Also, this is kind of you started uploading again. Like, you hadn't uploaded for like a year, then you had one 8 months ago, and like you just started again. And like, hey, cool, welcome back. This is something to mention. Mention your stuff. Good work. All right, now for the best videos. Best videos of the week. Yeah, sorry, there's only like 8 of them this week, but hey, and I'm able to find stuff to talk about. First, we're gonna get a little meta with the Unknown Otaku this week in Anitube #1 with Shield Hero Mordred Agretzko Season 2 with Hiding in Public and the Pedantic Romantic on the cover. So Unknown Otaku messaged me shortly after I made this first video and was like, "This was really interesting. Would you mind if I did something similar?" And I'm like, "Yeah, totally." I think it was great because Unknown is able to talk about other videos that I don't cover, and also with a different perspective. I'm a lot nicer, and coming from a creator perspective of I see what you did there, and I like this, and this could be better. But I think Unknown Otaku can have a little more bite to him, and a little more bite to the and calling them out on their shit, particularly content-wise. With the videos that he talks about in his installment, he mainly talks about the content and his perspective on it. So when he mentions Hiding in Public's video on Agretzko, he talks about his experience with Agretzko, and it's like, well, what I thought was this, and my perspective was this, but this video taught me blank. And I think that's really valuable because it ends up being a double-edged sword of not the bad kind, but you get to talk about other people's content, and you get to put in your own perspective of other media and the media they're talking about, and you kind of put your opinion on Agretzko out there too. And he does the same thing for Shield Hero for a good deal of this video, but all of it's very measured, not antagonistic, which was very refreshing to me because I was fully expecting this to be like attacking some of these people, especially Pedantic Romantic. And you break down one of her tweets about the certain character from Fate Apocrypha being trans. Um, I personally am not sure about the value of breaking down tweets because it's really just one sentence and one point that she's making, and she's not backing it up that much. She might be doing a series of them and kind of making one point here and there, but I feel like there would be more to chew on if this was an actual video, and that's why I'm interested in doing videos and not necessarily tweets. But I think that opens the doors for for more ideas for content because certainly if we were doing this when Misty Chronexia put out his tweet about animators and animation and the whole 3D thing, it's like, that colors our community. That's something we should talk about in formats like these. So I'm happy you're opening the door to that, and I think that's very good. It's also completely scripted and like not like ad lib like I am right now. Like I do ad lib like this so that it's easier for me to put out because I know I'm going to be rewriting and And you've told me this. We've had conversations where it's like he re-records and redoes a lot of stuff all the time, and so I'm hoping that's not what. I hope it doesn't delay it so much. It's far more effort put into these videos than mine are. But I really respect that. And again, that's something that's different from mine. So I was really happy that like, I didn't expect him to do anything similar to mine besides like the concept itself. Because I knew that he'd have that. He wouldn't be just shamelessly whatever. I think that was a really cool video. So like if you guys, if my stuff isn't enough for you, you got someone else doing it. And I think it was Eden who was like, I'm going to make a digest talking about all of the people that do digest. I was like, who else is doing it? I'd be cool for more people to do this. Feel free to. Even if it's the same video, it's like, oh, I already talked about that video. Don't worry about it. You could have a completely different opinion from mine or similar. I think it would be great to discuss this stuff further. And heck, it's good for all of us to make content, right? So hey, the more the merrier. So long as you're not like trying to be someone else, if you're just trying to be yourself, and don't worry about anyone else. Free invitation to keep doing this. So that way Eden has enough ammo to discuss all the digests in his own digest. I love that idea. If that happens, we're very happy. Next is Jackisboy, with probably my favorite video of the week. Ash Ketchum was always a champion, and you suck. Because it's very much me. It was very much my opinion, very much my feels when this was happening. This week, Ash was crowned the Alola League champion, and I was very salty for a couple of days. I still kind of am. And I actually wrote a very big paragraph video. Not a paragraph, maybe like 12 paragraphs. But Jackisboy, this dude is so fucking funny. And really, I really envy him with just kind of making something for the sake of it. And just when I like an idea and just throwing it out there like spaghetti, but like really chunky spaghetti. What am I saying? What does that even mean? What the fuck? But it was really funny because he starts the video where he's like, hey, I'm on the toilet right now. And I'm like, perfect. Exactly what I want. Like, it just totally like opens. It was like, this is not serious. And this is the Onion. You know what I mean? And you can totally buy into his anger and not be like, is he serious? No, it's awesome. And like, he doesn't pull any punches. He goes straight for the Orange Islands argument, which is really cool. And he somehow stumbles into like it being good because Brock isn't there because he's black, and it's like, no, Black Lives Matter. Oh, it's just so funny. I wish I was that funny. God, I wish that was that funny. Yeah, I got a real hoot out of it, and please watch it. It's very good. And the last video that I think was probably the best one that I saw this week, that was worth talking about, would be the city pop anime California Crisis by Stevem. Stevem also put out a Cow on Tuesday Bebop comparison video a couple days before, and I was like, but this is, yeah. This is something that he would obviously cover, not just like specifically as an old anime fan, which I was subscribed to him before he made that Miyazaki video, before he blew up past me. When he was doing the Toei monthly thing, he would just do it, reviewing a Toei movie every day for a month. It was awesome, and it was like, yeah, dude. And he's really, it's like really dry humor, very like low key delivery, but it's very peaceful and very easy to listen to. He's very knowledgeable specifically when it comes to music. Actually, he's geared his content a lot more towards music recently, and you can really tell that that's his wheelhouse when talking about all this stuff, because he isn't as good at trying to decipher plot or describe certain animation, anything like that. But he's just like, damn, this looks good. The story is fucking nothing. It's a big fat nothing. And I'm like, that's fair. But he makes it, there's a really great part that really sealed the deal. Like, yeah, this is really good. Where he pretends to be one of those old anime fans. That's like, we didn't need plot back in the day. We part 2, it never happened. And it just gets to like really macabre, like, it uses like the Lane auto voice, like, subscribe to Patreon. Like halfway through the video, and it was just so sudden. And it's just morbid stuff like that. It was just really cool. Then of course talking about the music mostly, and name dropping a bunch of artists, and really going into his like, hey, you can buy the soundtrack here, and he's always on CD. I always see like CD Japan pages on the screen there that he always uses. So he's just a very different content creator in terms of subject matter and just delivery. It's just so unique. I really like his stuff. So this was a cool video from him, and I encourage you to give it a shot. I enjoyed it a lot. And that's kind of it. I will say I did watch the explanation point video on Hero Academia, and I don't have too much to break down, and I don't want to just like put his video in 2 not goods in a row, but I wanted to. I really wanted to, because I don't know about that one either. There was a point where he was like, this script has gone off the rails, sorry. And it's like, you just admitting that like the script is not all that good, but you're still gonna roll with it, like you're still gonna record it, and what? And like, why wouldn't you just perfect the script that you have? Like, you clock's ticking with these patrons kind of thing, like, but they're paying you for this. This is your job. Why don't you put out the best you can make instead of like kind of farting it out? Like, it was just really weird. He's always very transparent like that. But hey, good for him. He got a Crunchyroll promotion offer. Link in the description thing for Crunchyroll. I don't know if that's such a proud thing to be proud of anymore, considering how few of us actually do that anymore. Like, Crunchyroll rarely gives those out now. Maybe that's something to be proud of that they're doing it now. But like it just seemed like something he was celebrating in like 2017. It's like, I don't know, dude. It's not that impressive anymore. But, good for him, I guess. Sorry, it was a bit negative Nancy for the end one. But looking forward to more stuff from content creators in the future. Yeah. Have a good week, guys. Yeah, peace.